Hey everybody, my name's Tim.
And I'm Parker.
And this is a special edition of the Rage Podcast. Today Parker and I want to talk about what's happened over the past 24 hours with the Capitol Hill raid and some of the violence and things that have taken place in Washington, D.C. I'm not going to speak for Parker, I'm going to let him speak for himself, but I would like in no uncertain terms to say that I am completely against what has happened here. Whatever my feelings are about the election, whatever my feelings are about what happened in Georgia, regardless of all that, I do not agree with what's happened here. I do not defend the protesters. I am not on their side. And anybody who would want to do something like this in order to make a point, I'm out. So to any of you watching this podcast from all over the world, I want to be very clear that those people do not represent me. I'm not a part of what that is, and if I had been there, I would have told them to stop. So, do you want to say anything about that?
I am the same way. I'm not for any of the things of the charge into the Capitol building or throughout this whole year. Just the vandalism and attacks and raids that you've pretty much seen throughout this entire year. I'm not condoning that at all.
Yep. We're also against what happened in Portland and all over the United States, where Antifa, BLM, any of those groups that have engaged in violence. We don't care what their message is. We do not condone that, nor will we ever support that. So we want to start there.
This was, I guess you could say, what pushed us to make the video is what happened at the Capitol. But we're talking, I guess you could say today, about all of those events and why we're not for any of them.
Yeah. So that's what we want to reflect on today. And I think, there's a lot of people out there talking, and Parker and I were talking before we turned the camera on about what scripture we want to use, and we got one we want to read here in a second. But Parker's first couple of suggestions I think are good. I just want to mention them here. A lot of people are using Jesus' scripture that's been quoted by a whole bunch of people about a house divided cannot stand. We think that's so on-the-nose obvious that if you want to hear about that, click on another video. There are plenty of them out there. We wanted to put something different on the air and look into that. Parker also suggested some scriptures from John 15 I thought were appropriate, talking about how we as Christians see ourselves as in the world but not of it. We understand that there will be trials and hardships, and I mean, with what's happened with 2020 and 2021, it's off to a great start. It's also going to have its own fair share of challenges, so we recognize that. But we also know that we are pushing for a higher purpose. We're trying to build God's kingdom here on earth, and what happened yesterday was, regardless of what comes of it, was a step in the wrong direction.
I did that scripture on saying, our home is not here on earth but in heaven above, because I have just been hearing tons of people already. I mean, it was January 6th of 2021. Everyone had high hopes, and this happens. Yeah. And they're in despair. They just don't know what to do. They're fed up with the world. They're fed up with the nonsense, I guess you could say, and aggression and hatred for each other. So just remember that, it's going to be rough down here, and I think last year and hopefully this year will eventually get better. But these times that we're living in is showing how great the future is for the follower of Christ, who's always. I say that to reassure some of you that don't get so overwhelmed in everything that's going on here. Always remember that you have a home in heaven. Yeah, and I really feel like as we're kind of reflecting on this, we're going to learn a few lessons. And we got a scripture Parker's going to read here in just a second, but we're going to go forward and read that and reflect on it, because what we want to talk about here, instead of who's wrong and who's right, because again, everybody who would engage in an act like this is wrong by definition. What Parker and I want to deal with here today is, what do we do now? What's the proper response? Because the issue that's coming out here, and actually all of the violence, including the BLM and Antifa riots that have been happening since last summer, and now this, you've got a whole lot of people out there who believe that nobody's listening to them. And they have concerns, they have things they want to have heard, and nobody's listening. And because of that, they feel like the only way they can get attention is to have these big events, which I think yesterday would qualify as a big event. That accomplished nothing.
Yeah, accomplished nothing. But they feel like by making such a tremendous splash that they'll get their message heard. Now, I completely disagree that that's going to happen. In my personal opinion, and I know Parker agrees with this, is they've turned more people away from their side than toward it. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I just feel like this problem originated when you had people last summer who had concerns about race, concerned about situations and things that were not being addressed, so they went out and did some things in order to get heard, and again turned a lot of people away from the cause. Well, now all you have is people on the other side of the argument who also didn't feel like they were heard, had concerns about the election, and they said, well, that's apparently the road we're going down, so we're going to do this big thing to see if we can get some people to pay attention to our concerns. Now, I believe they will only they accomplished was turning people away from them, but that's what they set out to do, and that's what if you want to talk about what the original problem was, it was people not believing they were being heard. That was the original concern. And I know that today, given conversations I've been having here and there all day, and on the live stream last night, we talked about it quite a bit, about how people are concerned that nobody's being heard.
Yeah.
Nobody's listening, and the people who are listening don't care. And Parker and I just want to take this opportunity to tell you that's not true. Yes, there may be some powers that be that are doing some things, and we may be frustrated by that. Believe me, I get it. But at the end of the day, we need to be listening to each other. We can't expect the bureaucrats in Washington to listen to anything that we have to say until we learn to look at people that we don't agree with and say, look, we have this fundamental disagreement, but we still love each other, and we can still have conversation even though we don't agree on everything. And even Parker and I know this is hard to believe that sometimes Parker is wrong. Therefore, we just that's not what you said, was it? But not everybody agrees all the time, and to expect agreement to happen across the board in every circumstance without exception, that is unrealistic and never going to happen. And so to all of you out there within the sound of our voice who are having concerns about being heard, we want to know there are people listening. You could jump in the comments of this video and say something. At least Parker and I are going to listen and be a part of what's going on.
There's someone else who will listen. I think that's where you're trying to lead is with this scripture passage. Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. That's a lot of people right now. Everyone is brokenhearted, crushed spirits. And that's just, Tim, it's hard. It's hard. Unbelievable, truly. I'm 17 years old, and I'm living in that moment. I'm living in the moment where America and the world pretty much has been at the heartbreak and despair and just crushed. And it's hard because a lot of people don't know that they have, like Tim has been mentioning, a voice. Mm-hmm. We live. And you
don't have to set things on fire to get that.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, your voice shouldn't be from. Even spray painting. It's the Capitol building of our nation. We should all, no matter who we are, I think we should honor and respect the fundamentals and that what our nation has built up from that Capitol building. The National Mall, I think, is the biggest icon of America, and it's been kind of just destroyed here a little bit. The Capitol, at least, has been. Oh yeah, there's enough damage. They said there'll be years putting some pieces of it back together. That's our capital, guys. Yep. That's our voice. If I'm going to get, I guess, into how our government works, our voice is pretty much Congress. We elect, our senators and our representatives to go in there, and that's.
You go ahead.
That's their home. That's where they do our work. We elected them, and that's where that action takes place, and we destroyed it.
Yeah, we have a representative government, which means it is the people who are there representing us. Now, we can not like them. We can be disappointed with them, of course. But, friends, we are destroying ourselves. And the symbol of ourselves is Capitol Hill. And look, I know people don't like that, but that's what it is. That's the way our system is set up. And so we're now at war with ourselves, guys. And house divided. The scripture fits so well.
The more I look into that, the Capitol building is our part in Washington. It's our home in Washington.
That's where our voice gets heard.
And that idea has just been blown out of the water because somebody thought they weren't getting their voice heard well enough. I understand, depending whether on what side you are on, you're not always going to get your opinion heard. And that's you're going to have to accept that, Mm-hmm. There's things in life that you just can't control.
Yeah, with a nation as numerous as the people in the United States, there's going to be times that you're not going to get your way because not all 3 billion people in the United States can get their way all the time.
And no one wants to hear that. I understand. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear it. No one really wants to hear those words, but it's the truth. It's the facts. Mm-hmm. And it never would result. No circumstance under God's earth should ever qualify the act of doing those acts in the Capitol
Yeah.
building. That was not necessary at all.
Yeah, and one of the lessons that I've already taken from this in the 24 hours since this has happened is, if you've got somebody who's accusing you of something, okay, and they're making accusations against you, and you want to deny those accusations, the last thing you should ever consider doing is doing something that makes them right, and that is exactly what's happened here. You know, the one side was flinging, I mean, both sides are flinging arrows at each other. And all they've done now is, all one side has done is given the other side the excuse to now cram down whatever kind of policy they want to do, and that was the dumbest thing they could have done.
I'm just fed up with the hate.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, you know, whatever happened, agree to disagree.
Yeah, because now there's going to be retaliation.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, we have obviously two major parties here in the U.S., and we aren't going to really accomplish anything for the good of the order if we just can't get along. You know, we might not have the same policies, we might not have the same doctrines or ideologies, but I think that's
agree
just
to
such
be
a
Americans.
yeah.
Yeah, agree to be community. Yeah.
You're all a part of this nation, and no matter what, have some sort of respect for it. You know,
Yeah.
if you respected this nation, you wouldn't have done that to the Capitol.
Yep.
That's our nation, guys. Like,
Yep.
You're
not being heard, so you destroy the place where it's the only place you can be heard.
Yeah.
And it's just counterproductive. So, well, friends, we want you to take heart. You know, there are well over 99% of the people in our nation are good people. We truly take the Pledge of Allegiance at its face, and we believe we are one nation under God. We are indivisible with liberty and justice for all. And I know some people have doubts about that. Some people don't feel like the justice is for everyone, but this is not the way to rectify your grievances. This is not the way to do it. So anybody out there who may be considering intimidation or violence in any form,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Won't do anything.
And we want to talk you out of it in every way that we can. So, you know, look, I understand we can't do anything about all the bad stuff that's going to happen, but here's what we can do. Is we can join a community. We can be a community. We can decide we're going to live together. Parker and I have already seen, we've had some comments on some of these rage videos. We know people don't agree with us, but you know what? We still love you guys. And we want you to know that we're doing these things so that we can reach out to you. We can come to you on your phone or in your living room and hear us talk wherever you are and know that you're hearing us, and we'd love to hear from you. So we want everybody to hang in there. Know that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and take heart, because as soon as you start to give up, these kind of ideas start coming into your mind, like what we saw yesterday, and we don't ever want to see that again, ever. So,
everyone has opinions. And, you know, if you want your opinion to be respected, you know, respect other people's opinion. You know, you gotta be able to work together. If you want your way, your opinion to be, you know, seemed okay, I think I can get behind that. The first thing you can do is start telling other people that they're, you know, not going and destroying the Capitol building, not tearing down cities, you know, not lighting a flame to all these businesses. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is by saying, you know, I respect your opinion, but here's what I think. You know? And that's how justice and God, and even God's will always be done.
And accept that you're not going to get your way every time.
Yeah. But that's what just popped into my head, and I would like to share that.
Yep.
So,
anything more for the good of the order?
I think in closing, I ask, pray for our nation and pray for this world.
Pray sincerely and pray fervently. Yes.
I hope at the end of this video, just take a moment of time to pray for our nation and, you know, ask God to shine His hand, because that seems like the only thing that might be able to help our situation. So.
Yep, we're getting to the point where we don't even feel like we have each other. So we're going to have to turn to God first and then let Him set us back on the right course.
So.
You guys hang in there, and we'll be back soon.